Tonight we've got Gareth. You probably all know Gareth.
Yeah, met Gareth before. Alright, how are you?
Primarily river fisherman. That's right, isn't it?
Only, really, yeah.
River flies. Qualified guide. And Gareth's agreed to do a selection of the late season river flies for us tonight because I thought that would be topical. Okay, so over to you, Gareth.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again, everyone. I can't remember when I was here last. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it would be.
So that's flown by. So tonight, as John's mentioned, so later season flies. I mean, the problem on my rivers, so I primarily fish the River Usk and the River Mon, and really that's the base really for me throughout, from March all the way through to a couple of weeks' time. Problem we've had this year though, and I imagine it's been quite similar for you, I know it for a fact it's the same in Sweden and as far across as Canada, we've all had these weird weather patterns, and for some reason we just haven't had the fly life really. Probably made worse right by low water levels and warm water too. So it's been probably the toughest season I can remember in the longest of times. I can't quite remember a season as tough for this. But they are there, and on the days they are sort of taking, then again, the dry flies I'll tie tonight, hopefully will help you guys out as well. I primarily fish dry flies, by the way. I don't really carry nymphs anymore. But if the day does get tougher, then generally I just want to break from work, you know, just get away from life for a couple of hours in the evenings or whatever, and really I'll just, I don't know, have a beer on the bank, and you know, life's good for another few hours, isn't it? So yeah, so tonight then the patterns I'm going to tie, we'll try and cover 4. Yep.
Which bank is it they serve beer?
It's the Gareth Lewis Bank.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I always, there's never a time I don't take a beer with me, I think. Only one, of course. So yeah. So tonight then, 4 patterns. We'll do a bit of chatting about them as well. And again, if you've got any questions, don't wait till the end. Just, you know, we'll have a chat throughout as well. But the 4 patterns I tie in, please, we'll have a break midway maybe. Come up. This is like my main fly box. There's 6 compartments, 2 of which are the same pattern, just different sizes. And that is what I carry on me and my waders year round. Now I do carry another box, also 6 compartment. And they're a range of like Danica for, you know, when we're getting the hatches. Early season maybe larger emergers to cover March browns, maybe a couple of Granum as well, which we didn't see at all this year. But that's kind of like the secondary box. The primary firearm is this one, and generally that covers me for everything. So the patterns we'll tie tonight generally are the ones I go to pretty much every time I'm out. I always gravitate to one, which I'll tie first. So we're going from, we've got a midge involved. Now it's called a midge emerger, but it's not. It's kind of a mix of everything, right? It'll be your all or nothing fly. And that's what I like personally, okay? So
they're all dry, are they?
They're all dries, yeah. And that's what I like. I like to keep things simple because, well, my job is IT and it's headache creating enough as it is every day, all day. So I like to completely keep things simple when I go fishing. My patterns are just that. They, you know, as John said, so I did guide for about 9-10 years. Don't anymore. Still do a couple of things with clubs in terms of casting instruction there and teaching, but in terms of guides, no. But the one thing you learn as you guide, your flies they can't take long to tie, right? They've got to get the job done, and they've got to be bang, 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 and your box is full, because then you're out the next day with another client or 2 or 3, and you've got to have enough flies, because half of them are going to end up in a tree or a bush, or it depends on the client, right? But some of them, of course, are fantastic casters and brilliant fishermen, and they didn't even need me, but for some reason my box was decimated by the end of each. But there we go. So that's another discussion. So I'm a big fan of the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? So wherever we can, we just minimise things, keep it simple, and that I can't like that for life as well, really. Just don't give me headaches. Let's just get through life and then just have beer and, I don't know, cook outside on a barbecue and enjoy the sun or whatever. So with that, I like more. Colour for me is secondary, so you'll pass these around later, and they're quite drab, right? Because the dry flies at the end of the day, trout is underneath them, the sun's above the fly, it's always going to look silhouetted, all right? So again, colour does come into play, certainly with some emergers and definitely nymphs. That's, you know, there's no argument there. But for me personally, Not only have I was chatting to a fishing buddy the other day, and we were kind of chuckling together where not only if for some reason, because we just like the visual aspect of dry fly fishing, so not only if, you know, so fishing, the capability of catching fish is like this big, right? Then we choose fly fishing, and then it goes down this big, and then we think, no, we're just going to tie or fish with dry flies, then we're down here, and then all of a sudden we're on our knees in this tiny little small stream, and this fish, it could be tiny, is rising just underneath this tiny alder branch or whatever, and then our chances are even small. So you kind of got to take a step back and think, what the hell are we doing? But, you know, we enjoy it, we enjoy the casting side of it, that's the challenge. Could be a big fish, could be a small fish. So back to the flies, this is where, personally, let's keep them simple. I know they work because I catch fish on them. I don't catch a huge amount of fish, but the challenge for me is, you know, working hard, spotting a fish, right, what do I need to do, where do I need to be, and what type of cast do I need to make in order to get that food to that, you know, feeding animal. And generally, if you don't spook the animal, as you know, an animal is going to eat what it thinks is food, right? But that's where, as John knows, that's the importance of drag-free drift and the casts that allow you to implement slack into a cast. So personally, the flies are secondary to me. I just need to be in position with something I know imitates some form of food. Right? Now, it's not to say I catch every fish. I don't, and I still catch trees, but that's part of fishing, right? So, general impression of shape and size, that's what I care about. I don't really care about colour, because they're all dark drab or mottled grey, black, whatever you might say from underneath. So, there we go. So 4 patterns tonight. We've got like I'd say midge emerger. It's more of an emerger, and again a generic thing. We've got a snowshoe hair emerger, which gives me that visibility. So when I'm fishing water, and I might want to maybe prospect maybe a faster, slightly more broken run, then the snowshoe hair actually acts as a bit more of an indicator when compared to maybe, you know, like a CDC style emerger. Then we've got, this time of year, we've still got some sedge, and we've still got some orcadis, and we've still got a few stoneflies in the air as well. So that third pattern then is going to be our sort of, again, generalistic caddis, also stonefly, but also an emerger again. I'm a big fan of emerging things, because that's the perfect prey item. You know, a dun might have the chance of flying away, whereas generally an emerger or some form of ascending nymph, that's in the danger zone. That's the one that's generally not going to get away as easy. So the trout just lock onto them. And then lastly, because of the time of year, we're seeing some sulphur duns. So again, smaller upwings, smaller ephemera, but also chances of blue-winged olives. All right, things like that. Again, we can lower the size then and go a bit smaller into, I wouldn't say microfly, it's a size 20, but anything smaller than that, then we're getting pretty small. So, any questions so far? No? Good? Right, let's crack on. Right, so also I'll be tying with, as the shirt displays, I'm with Fully Mills Pro community, whether that's professional or promotional, you decide. I only use the stuff I use myself, right, and I'm happy to promote. I don't use anything that I aren't happy to support. So if you do see anything that you want to have a closer look at, everything I'm using tonight, I've kind of brought a selection of like the other colours, what the packs look like, things like that. So by all means, come up, have a look. Don't come up and take it, just come up and have a look. Right? Yeah, it happens. I tell you what, fly shows. Yeah, have a look at these hooks. Well, no, where are you going? Don't take 100 hooks away. But there we are. That's part of the show. Anyway, so right. So a chironomid midge emerger, CDC, nice and simple, kind of like a shuttlecock. And I do apologise. You probably see me tie this, or some of you have. Is that? How's that looking? Yeah. And again, keeping it simple, right? So this is an everything and nothing. It's surprisingly, there's only two feathers from CDC, two CDC feathers, and it's surprisingly, I mean, the rivers I fish, as John will know, there's they're stacked pools really, right? Like most rivers, but there's a lot of longer, slower glides. Whereas I say, you've got to put keep low, maybe get on your knees, which I don't tell blokes very often, but get on your knees and don't spook the fish, right? And generally, these longer, smoother glides, you can cast this little fly fairly simply, and it does pop out in quite nice circumstances as well, even in the silvery sort of broken water. But as we get through the patterns tonight, obviously we're going to talk about flies for, silvery, more broken water. So again, I don't use this in every situation, but it's generally on my tippet from the get-go, really. So black thread, so this hook is the Fuller Mill check nymph hook. And don't think of it as a check nymph hook. It is great on even smaller flies. It only goes down to a size 20, which is then, it is a little bit bigger, personally. I think it's more like an 18 plus, something like that, right? But again, it's kind of like a 1X hook, so you've got that slightly extended hook shank. But then that's why they brought out the tactical midge. Great naming convention. I think it's more for the US side with their tactical whatever, but that then goes down to a size 28. So again, you've got the full range if you want. Unfortunately, they don't do a flat, standard dry style hook with a flat shank down to 28 yet, but hopefully they're coming. So again, if the need is there to tie that small, right? So we're just going to layer on a body, and this is just Fuller Mill's new thread, which is pretty nice, I must say. 70 denier, so like an 18-aught-ish. And we're just going to take it down and then back up. Now, if the thread unfurls, i.e. it lays flat, it's perfectly fine, because then you're going to get a flatter profile body. Doesn't really matter if it's tight at all, but I like a nice smooth body, I suppose. But you haven't got to. So this bit is purely optional. I always say this fly, and I'm like, well, you could probably remove that. And they're like, oh, well, why don't you? Well, I like the look of it. But you said to keep it simple. I know. So just bear with me on it, right? Now, this technically is I don't know, we're including like wing buds, I suppose. So I'm taking my, again, all this stuff is Fuller Mill, right? So I'm not going to say Fuller Mill this, Fuller Mill that all night, right? Because I'm going to lose my voice probably. But this is the Parapost yarn. So exactly the same stuff we're going to use on another fly. So it's very stiff, straight. Another material we use is kind of similar, which is the poly yarn stuff, which is more crinkly. But I like that for shucks, whereas for this, I like it to lay flat. I don't want it balling up, into a bushy sort of ball. Stays exactly where you kind of tie it. So for this one, what I've done, I've cut a very horizontal cut, and what I'm going to do is just line that up, and with a pinch and loop I'm going to tighten down, just draw it back so I don't crowd the eye, and 4 turns and it's in, right? So it's a big bit, this, right, obviously, and this isn't going to be the wing bud, right? So we're going to trim that back. But what you might have seen when I was unpacking earlier, this bit's from my tying desk at home. So this will, I don't know how many Toronto mergers we get out of that, probably another couple of dozen. So that lives on the desk, and because this is the fly I probably tie the most, I just keep going for the same little bit. Doesn't mean I've got to grab the new stuff out of the packs. Now if you were to get the stuff out of the pack, I mean, that would tie you, I don't know how many millions of this pattern, right? I mean, even paradons with posts, that would tie a huge amount.
Is that poly yarn?
Yeah, pretty much. So this is the Parapost yarn, but it's poly yarn, right? So again, if you look into the sales spec, I think they're like hollow tubes and stuff. But again, I'm not using it for buoyancy. And even on a paradon, where there's the post, well, it's above the water, so it's not giving us any buoyancy anyway. That's in the hackle, but we'll come to that one later. So when you look at this pack, if you do later, you'll see one strand is quite thick, right, by design. So this is actually about 1/3 of that one strand, right? We don't want anything massive. We just want an idea, an impression of wing buds, really. And again, does the pattern need it? I'd argue probably not, but I like how it looks, right? So you do your own tie and I'll do mine, right? So, right, so that's that done. And I said these are guide flies, right? So again, I could have friends staying, I could have clients on the water the next day, whatever. So again, if they're saying, oh, can you tie me up a few of what you use, then this is all they're going to get, right? Because then I'll be probably cooking for them or something as well, no doubt. Right, so 2 feathers, and sorry, I'm putting my glasses back on. A sign of age, I think, these days. What I like to do, I don't know whether you can see this on the camera. Yeah. Right, I've just removed the fluff stuff from the end. If I need to manipulate the feathers so that the tips align, so I'm moving them back and forth, when it's got the fluffy stuff on, they don't seem to slide as nice. So I just remove the fluffy bits. So let me put that on the paper. If you've got a white background, then you can line them up. Certainly if you're doing maybe 3 or 4 feathers on larger patterns, but with 2, it's just a case of lining them up. We have got background music again.
That's in the bar, but we sometimes have the Morris dances.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sounds like Looney Tunes this time.
Pardon?
Sounds like Looney Tunes to me. Quite apt for my tie-in, I think. Right.
It's not a big distraction.
Oh no, not at all. Right, so what I've done, I've just lined the tips, right, nice and simple. There's only 2 feathers. And really for this size, again, it's a size 20 hook, 18 plus really. Again, you haven't got to use a lot, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm just lining her up, just getting my eye in. I kind of want the length of the wing to be the length of the body, right? Just to keep things nice and same ratio as I tie a batch. And again, pinch and loop. Okay, so we don't spin it around the shank. If it does, which mine has, nobody look, then again you can just tie it back around. And I'm just going to take the thread, so I'm in line with those wing buds. It's only about 4 or 5 turns. And that's the next material tied in, right? Now, I don't know whether you saw there, I put my thread over I cut my finger yesterday. I put a picture on Facebook this morning, and it's got more likes than the flies I put on within the first hour. Another passion of mine is cooking, right? I love anything to do with cooking, to a degree of studying like recipes and stuff. It's a bit sad, but it's food, and food's good, right? So, but despite that, and the amount of years I've used a lot of very sharp knives, I still keep stabbing myself and cutting chops my fingers off and stuff. So I put a post on today saying, fly tier's tip, if you've got a demo coming and you just stabbed yourself in the hand, use some Gorilla Glue. It's great, right? So I've gone from plaster to, because I can't use materials with a big plaster on my thumb, to just dabbing the Vietnam bloody idea on. So it does work, but it was only a little cut. So again, if my thread catches my super glued hand, then my apologies, right? My hands are normally a lot softer than they have here. So the next, so thorax, right? Again, guide 5, so 1, 2, 3. Thorax, I mean, stiff and spiky. Squirrel works well. Hare's ear, use rabbit if you want. It's a bit softer, granted, and it'll take on a bit more water, so it may sink. But this stuff, again, this is the Eco Warrior dub. It's kind of like it's a good mix of guard hairs and the softer stuff as well. And it's very good to use in a split thread dub, which we're going to do in a minute, right? So, and again, if you want to see these things, then please help yourself. Help yourself to look in, by the way. Yeah. So let me just pop that there. And then I'm just going to split the thread. This is laying quite flat as it is. So lefty loosey, unturn, yeah, or unwind till it's nice and flat. Now you probably can't see this on the video, but I'm just laying the thread over my thumb, over my finger. Just no, only weight is the bobbin holder, so that it lies nice and flat, and then I can insert my needle and then into my finger again. God, my finger's getting a mistake me. And then we're just going to take a little pinch, because we're only going to do like 3-4 turns with this, right? So it's not going to need a lot. But what I'm looking for, the spikier feathers, spikier fibres. And remember, we can remove if need be. But again, practice, right? And I'll know the rough amount. So again, righty tighty. I don't know whether you can see there it goes, starting to spin. So as I'm going to wrap forward now, I don't want to trap those nice guard fibres down. I kind of want them proud, right? And then we can decide whether I'm going to remove them later. Generally, I want them up, right, and nice and vertical. So as I'm wrapping, just like any sort of maybe feather or hackle, I just want to brush them back with my finger out the way as we go. And that is pretty much it. Now, before I tie off under the wing, so behind the eye, I don't want that thread like super tight because we've just spun it. So I'm just going to take a bit of pressure off and unspin it slightly. I don't want it flat either because then you haven't got the strength of those multi-strands. But I'm just going to use my fingers to brush everything out of the way, and then whip finish tool. 4 wraps usually does it. And slice. So it's not the finished fly, but it's almost there. So again, body, wing chuck, wing bud, sorry, wing, and then thorax over the top. Right, you can't really get any easier than that. And then lastly, I'm just gonna get everything set. I'm just gonna hold the CDC fibres. I'm just gonna brush everything forward. So I'm going to do a bit of a haircut. So I don't really want to cut any of that thorax either. So I'm just going to lift the 2 back ends or the butts of the CDC fibres, give them a trim. I don't worry about cutting them too close because again, it adds a little bit more buoyancy if you've got a little bit more CDC back there as well. And then the wing buds, I keep saying shuck, that's not a thing. About half the length of the body. So again, this. I tend to grease this up a little bit if I'm in the mood. I don't really, but we'll talk about the fishing of it in a minute. So that's that. And then again, just brush that thorax back. Now naturally when you do this, if you're a bit heavy-handed, what I tend to look at with this is, right, what does it look like and how is that going to sit on the water? I don't want a huge amount of dub in there. I just want just enough, again, just an impression of like legs, bits breaking free. Emergers aren't, the good-looking, sexy duns and spinners that we see. They're horrible-looking things. There's antenna sticking out, legs, the wings are just half-formed. They look a mess. But again, as we said earlier, right, these are the prey items that just get mopped up by the trout. And I think I'd be quite happy to put my name on it to say they would probably prefer those because there's less work, there's less chance that the fly's going to do one any second, whereas they've got a lot of time with the emergers. Now, if you want to, like me, I just want to go in and just, if you have trapped some of those guard hairs, which is only natural, you're going to do it like any of us, then you can go in and maybe pick a couple out. And again, that's probably spot on. So, and again, I like to brush them up out of the way. If you want to, when you're fishing it, if you want to grease up maybe the thorax, I don't find you need to. You've got wicked buoyancy with the with the wings there. But what I do use a lot of when it does eventually get wet, so hopefully you've caught a fish or 2 on it, and then it's going to get gunked up and clogged up straight away, right? So you can use Amadou if you want. There's the elastic band approach. I ended up losing them, single-use plastics, blah blah blah. So I use a lot of desiccant powder, which I bought a million years ago. I think I was telling you guys years ago. I bought it by like the pint and a half from America, and it had about, I don't know, no word of a lie, about 12 custom stickers on it, because every state and town it went through, it must have got opened up, and it looked very dodgy, right? This big batch of white powder, I think, I'm surprised the police didn't do that. Well, if they want to taste it or smell it, then they can do, right? But I wouldn't advise that either. But I've still got a quarter of this thing left, and I bought it about 15 years ago, so yeah, money well spent, definitely an investment. And I use a lot of that, so it dries it out perfectly, and if anything, obviously, well, I use a lot of natural CDC, and it does add a bit of white to it as well. So if I struggle maybe a summer night, and I'm out until way after dark, and I'm still fishing dry flies, or trying to, then if I've got this on, I know, do not take it off my tippet because I'm not going to be able to tie another one because it's so dark, right? So what I do is brush the hell out of it with desiccant powder, and it does, you know, give it a lighter hue. So yeah, there we are. So what I will do, the actual flies are here and probably better tied than in demo situation, right?
We're
But
going to draw for those, by the way. Gareth donate those to a draw.
well, there's only 4. I can do you a box another time.
The ones he's tying or the nice ones?
The nice one. I like to be prepared now because they're like, oh, he was. How many drinks did he have when he did that? Right. So if you want to pass it around, then.
Okay.
Gareth, that's a 20. What size do you go up to? What's the maximum size?
As I say, I've got the 20, the 20 model hook, which I use predominantly. I used to use 16s, to be honest, and it's still fine. But as I say, it's a slightly bigger hook. So that's a 20. I'll go down to a 24, and then that's it. It's got to be very tough conditions for a 24, though.
We're all decrepit out here through bad eyes here, man.
You know, I'm tying my glasses. These are +3s. Don't worry about it. And I've got contact lenses in, so yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I've got the glasses.
I'm in the same club. Don't worry.
I got the ones for tying.
Is that one mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is tying them on the line. It's not making it.
Well, so I tie with glasses now, but I'm loath to take a pair on the river with me because if I start using them for knots, I'm done. I'm going to be using them until I die now. So I'm holding
You
out.
feel like me. You've been fishing so long. You can for some reason you can still put a leader through the eye of a hook.
Yeah,
And tie it up, can't you? It
Sometimes,
comes
yeah.
naturally though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think once it's through, the knot's the easy bit. You know, you've got the feel for that, haven't you? You know, get your mouth involved if you need to sometimes. But getting it through some of the eye on something. The good thing about those tactical midge hooks I mentioned, but the eye is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
It's almost like Tiemco are known as like the small, in the nerd ring, right, of tiny flies, micro patterns. The Tiemcos and maybe the Gamakatsu, they had bigger eyes just for that reason. I added a little bit more weight, but it was a balance between do I want to make things easier for myself or do I want the fly sinking. So they were pretty good. So they've kind of adopted that, and they are solid hooks, even down to. I don't use the 28s or 26s. Again, you're playing around with like 8 decks and fish welfare and all that, and so I will use a 24, certainly in summer, but generally I don't need to because that'll work. But again, as long as the drift is right, more often than not.
Can you get a 0.14 tippet through the eye?
Well, I like the X system. What would that be?
Okay.
I'm lazy.
Pardon?
I'm lazy.
That's a strop. Well, I don't know because I
Strop,
0.14.
What pound breaking would that be?
That's £3.
3, isn't it?
£3, so yeah, it'd be about 7x ish.
Yeah.
About 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 7x. I
But the
use it.
strop is thinner than
It will be, yeah.
most.
Yeah. The nylon I like. It gives a bit of stretch.
Who's what make?
Real
Oh, okay.
and fully mill. There's a decent, to be fair.
Okay, yeah, fully mill.
Yeah. Right. Do you want to do another one?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So I'm gonna leave. Let me just tidy up this a little bit. So we're kind of getting higher. Well, not higher in the water. Sorry. Let me track back from that. We're getting now into maybe an area of water. So, firstly, just to finish off on that fly. So we're talking late season flies, but I've kind of cheated because midge are on the water every day of the year, even in the coldest of winters. As long as that sun comes out for a second, you'll see balls of them. Now, whether they'll be on the water is another thing, right? Because when you see the balls of midge, they're above. So if they do happen to get blown on, great. But again, they are waterborne, so fill your boots. I love midge anyway, and it does work well. Next, we're going to go a bit larger. And now put yourself in a position where maybe I'm fishing a bit of water which is getting a bit more broken. So now I'm not able to really see that emerger. So we're going to tie something a bit more visible. Excuse me for 2 seconds. Right, anyone use snowshoe hair emergers?
I've
Yeah.
done it in the past.
Like them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buoyant.
Buoyant, again, quick, easy, rough tumble. Again, good profile, which is the important thing. And again, the colour for me is again, all my flies that I tie are pretty drab, right? But again, a lot of nature's drab as well, unless us men get involved, then it gets colourful for some reason. I don't know why that is. And then we don't last as long, do we? So there we go. So, snowshoe hair emerger then. I used the deer hair emerger, so Bob Wyatt's, yeah, he just gets the whole thing, I think. Again, proper trout flies, no messing about. Just chuck it anyway, thanks. No. Yeah, chuck it on the thing. Awesome, thanks. So again, these are in the box, so if I'm fishing stuff that's maybe not as glassy and smooth, I still will, but generally I just opt to, personal preference. So this one then is better, I find, when I want a little bit more visibility, and I want to be able to see the fly in maybe faster water. So I fish a lot of small tumbly streams as well. Again, South Wales boy, right? And we've got millions of them. You're either walking up on a hill or walking down one, right? And obviously water's going to flow down as well. So the amount of little small streams and small rivers we've got, they're absolutely everywhere. So this is a good 5 for that. Right, so I'm just going to lay one layer of thread. So I'm just going to take it all the way down to where I want the butt end to be. And I'm just going to open turn it all the way back up, right? Just save a bit of time. Now, I've seen this tied by a couple, and when Bob ties it, you'll notice that the wing is quite almost, I wouldn't say that far back, but some of the ways I've seen it tied by others, it's almost like a shuttlecock, where it's coming out just over the eye. And, well, that's not Bob's pattern, right? So I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong, or whether it fishes well or not. But Bob's version is quite far back. So if you can see on the camera, thorax is going to be about 1/3, 2/3 for body, and it's on that first third that the wing's going to go in, right? And you can see on the one I tied, this one I made earlier, it's just a ball of fluff, but from underneath the profile is fantastic, right? So again, I think that's quite important, that it is not out of the eye, so that the body's sitting in the film rather than like a shuttlecock, which will be almost through the film. Again, depends what you're looking for, right? But as I've got that midge emerger, which is going to fit through the film, when it's dry, it's going to sit in, right? But as it gets wetter, the body gets wetter, it's going to pierce through. So I've taken it up there. I'm going to use the same dubbing just for simplicity, because it's out. But again, colour up to you, right? If you want to adopt like cool colours, then you go for it. What I'm doing now, notice I'm 1/3 into the fly, and I'm putting dubbing on to create the body. So what I'm going to do is go down the body and then come back up in open turns to create a rib, and it kind of protects the dubbing a little bit, because these flies do get bashed up a bit. They are liked. And what I'm trying to do as well, so the dubbing noodle that I'm putting on, obviously I'm starting at the top of the fly behind the thorax, and then I'm going down to the butt. So I kind of want to taper it down, alright? So I kind of want a fatter pair of shoulders on it, and a tight bum, right? So there we are, that's one for the camera. Right. So bear with me. If this gets a little loose, just tighten it back up. And for those of you who like colours, absolutely have a play with this. I quite like this with a yellow thread as well, because one, it'll give a bit of a pop, and obviously when that yellow thread gets wet, you get a really nice kind of olivey drab natural effect as well. It does look quite good. And again, as I say, from the butt, we're just going to come up in open turns, almost like a rib, right? So before I move on, before there's more materials in there, right, let's just have a look at that body. It's a bit too messy for me, okay? They always are, because it's a mad sort of crazy dubbing, right? Lots of guard hairs. So I always give it a bit of a trim. Now, you could ask, why don't I use something like a superfine style thread? And you absolutely can. I know quite a few guys who do. gives an awesome profile, without a doubt. Obviously it helps cut through the water, but I like more natural hairs because they'll take a little bit of water on and it will help to pierce the surface a little bit. Whereas, yeah, maybe the superfine, you could argue, doesn't as quickly. But again, because it's always on my desk and I bloody love the spikiness of it, then that's what I generally tend to opt for these days. So again, I'm not looking to get rid of all the spikiness. I kind of want some spiky bits on the body. You could think that's maybe like, I don't know, gills maybe. I mean, this isn't just like a caddis emerger. It's one and everything, right? Yeah, happy with that. So I just want to bring my thread forward just a couple of wraps, take away from the thorax, and I'm just going to get snowshoe hair foot. Anyone go to British Fly Fair? Anyone? Yeah, I know you guys do. The fly, what's his name? Fly tying Madrigal.
Ed Madrigal.
Yeah, have a look at his. Oh my god, this stuff is like. So I went over to his stand, and I was like, "They told me you've got really good snowshoe feet," and he's like, "Yes." How many have you got? Have you got this colour? And he's just like, oh my, and I've seen them, and I'm just like, oh my god, these things are amazing. Because he's known for more Coq de Leon, isn't he?
Yes.
And that is superb. So these feet are just phenomenal. You can have a look at these. If I see these leave that door, I'm chasing you down, right? So by all means, have a look.
Does he do those online?
Does he, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to.
Lifetime Madrigal.
They are very good. Cooksill's stuff, obviously Steve Cooper, his feet are great. His snowshoe feet, not his feet, I've never seen them. I'm sure they're lovely. This is on camera, so I've got to behave. No, I'm sure Steve's feet are lovely. Moving on. They're very good. What else? There used to be Nature's Spirit. They used to be in the UK. Sadly, no more. I think they might be coming back in, so I hear on the grapevine. If they do, that's great, because their stuff is very good. Deer hairs, any sort of hairs, furs. But yeah, this stuff is very good. I'm watching you over there as well, right? So what I've done, obviously you can see from the packets that it's a foot, right? And I think I might have mentioned this last time maybe. But the foot comes like that, right? So you got the heel there, and you can see where the foot's been taken off. I know if anybody doesn't like fly tying, then it probably looks like a bunch of weirdos. But you've got the claws at the front, okay? And what I recommend you do is the good stuff's in there, right? So if I put that there, okay? Heel is here. You've got about 1.5 inch section with the prime stuff. You can use this, but then it's a bit soft, right? We want there's some spiky stuff in there. It's obviously very buoyant because, well, they live in the snow, so they have to be. But there's a bit there. Now, rather than trying to open it up, now I haven't got kids, but if anybody does, I've seen what you do with kids with knits and things, and you've got to go through there. That doesn't look too fun to me. So you can't do this to a kid. But if you stick a knife down the middle of the foot and then split it, you've got a lot better access to that prime hair in the middle, right? Not my idea. I think it's from Micro Patterns, the book, but he talks about how to utilise snowshoe stuff, and you can kind of tell. And I'll pass these ones around later because you can see the inside of the foot. Oh, it sounds minging, doesn't it? But you can see the inside of the foot, and you can see the difference in the hair types or the fur types, and it's that almost a centimetre bit that's the Goldilocks zone, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a snip, and you don't need that much really. Again, this one's a size 16. I'm just going to, what I'm doing off camera is I'm just going in with my scissors and I'm just parting it and just grabbing a little bunch. Just going to turn it in my fingers. Now don't worry if there's, because when I first started tying a snowshoe, it was like the most, I as I said, I work in IT, right? Step 1 to step 2 to step 3, and never do you change that, right? You always get the same outcome. And generally, it's like baking, isn't it? You use exactly this recipe and exactly this amount, and it comes out the same every time. If it doesn't, then either your oven's wrong, or you put too much of something in, or you've forgotten something. Fly tying is exactly the same. Now this material, because of all the different fibres, it's not like deer hair where they're all nice and straight and uniform. It's not like a nice hackle that you now spend like £300 million on, crazy prices. But this stuff is chaos right through the foot. Every fibre is squiggly and all over the place. So it just went against my grain when I started tying with this stuff. So don't worry if there are any guard hairs sticking out, because we're going to give it a trim, right? I don't know whether Bob does. He's probably amazing, and he probably just looks at the fur and it just goes into exactly the way. But yeah, he just you know, does sweet nothings to it. But I give it a bit of a haircut, because then it looks the same every time, right? And again, you're not removing anything really. What I will do though, before I tie it in, I'm looking for anything that's like crazy sticking out. Just make it easy on yourself to pick them up. But again, like the last pattern, about the same size body to wing, right? And then if we want to, we can shorten it up by using scissors. So again, I'm just going to lay it down, and then again, pinch and loop, right? So it stays on top of the shank as opposed to wrapping around it. So it's 4 wraps over there. Now notice there's a big bunch of the butt ends, if you want to call them butt ends. We're going to keep those there. And I'm just going to draw everything back, and I'm just going to build up a little platform in front of snowshoe hair. Again, trying to kick it up, right? Yeah. But I don't want any bumps, so I'm just going to start to form a bit of a taper. Okay, right. So what I'm doing now, the butt part, I've kind of like teased back, because we're going to do again, split thread. So the thorax again is nice and spiky, right? And quite proud. And we're going to do a couple of wraps behind, and then we're going to really layer it on, not thick, but we're going to pack it and pull it back, pack it so it really kicks that wing up. Yeah. So bear with me just. Do you want to look at the inside of the foot? As disgusting as that sounds. Looking at that bit. That's what we're after. Right? About 1 centimetre in length. Bear with me a minute. So again, unspin my thread. Lay it over my finger. And then
From the inside.
So I don't know whether you can see, but you've got a split thread there. Yeah. That's a great job. So we can be a bit more heavy-handed.
Yes.
With this one, because again we're going to put a bit more dubbing on than the little midge. But again, you can always add more, right? If you're worried, we just unspin and add more.
What's that dubbing again?
This one is the Eco Warrior dub. The colour is pepper box. So again, there's greys, browns. There's a bit of natural stuff. It's all good natural colours. Again, I'll pass these round in a bit, right? Wow, they did the round without. Thanks, boys. There we go. Let's start the spin. Right. So, I'm just gonna drop the wing down and just, as I say, a couple of wraps behind. Be careful not to pull the wing around either, and then, as I say, the wing needs to come back. Drag that couple of wraps of thorax back, and again, as we go forward, really pack that in front of the wing so that it stays true, and then bring your thread forward. I was very lucky there, because that was the exact amount of dubbing. You know, normally I've got to unspin, put more in, and again, like before, right, I'm just going to unspin it, take a bit of pressure off that twisted thread, and then just give it a whip finish.
What were you using Bosnia, Joe? Or you was?
No, that was
No.
Duxton, wasn't it?
Oh, Duxton, was it?
Yeah.
They were quite bright, wasn't it?
Similar. Well,
Duck's Dun's got a lovely profile on it.
yeah.
I do love that pattern. Right, almost there. So now, again, if you can see, I'm just going to brush the wing forward. We've still got that big, heavy butt end part, right? So I'm just going to hold on to that and just bring everything forward, pretty much like we did on the last fly, actually. So just bring that forward, and I'm just going to go in, and I'm not going to go tight again, because again, this is good buoyancy, this, right? So I don't want to remove all of it. So it's almost like a butt end of a wing or whatever. It's still there, but it's kind of not there, right? But it's adding a bit of buoyancy. Right, I'm just going to have a look at that. And what I'm looking for now is the wing firstly too long? Do I need to remove any of the thorax, which I will, but I'll show you how I do it. Now, if anyone has been to the British Fly Fair, there's a chap there, well, obviously a fantastic tyre, if he's on the row. Don't know why they ask me, but there we are. Kevin Muir from Scotland. He is probably my go-to guru for, well, most flies actually, but when it comes to snowshoe and working with it, he is just go see him. So if you're up in Stafford in February, Kevin Muir, just go and have a look. But not only is he a great fly dresser, he also makes these amazing tools. So you've seen me use this dubbing, the bodkin. Fantastic, hand-turned wood, brilliant stuff, it's great. Lives in a also hand-turned needle holder that he made me at home as well. But the best thing I think I've ever seen is this dubbing brush. See that? So it's not your typical sort of like where the brush is going around and then you've got to, you know, can't get in, it's a bit difficult. This thing you can really get in and actually use the head of it, which is brilliant, I think. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to brush all this thorax, I'm going to brush it up out of the way, alright? So I'm going to brush it almost like into the wing. So if you think from underneath, looking up at the fly, you're going to get you're going to get fibres sticking out and up, but not underneath. Now you could cut it, you could trim underneath, which is fine, but I like to brush them up, and then you've got more of that sort of holding onto the water. And obviously when you come to fish it, we'll get to that in a minute.
There's a better footprint as well.
Yeah, it's great. It is very good. I have seen these tied with the wrong part of the foot, the wrong part here, and I think that's the importance. And they were like, "You like these snowshoe hair removers, didn't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I love them. Why is that? Do you tie them as well?" I was like, "Well, I did." And then I chucked them all in the bin. I was like, "You used the wrong part of the foot, didn't you?" And they were like, "Well, they sank like stones." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's the wrong part of the foot." It's amazing how drastic it is if you go down an inch or two in the foot. It's yeah, it's a bit. So yeah, we used the right part of the foot. And then he tried one that I gave him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, they do fall."
Can you do the same? Could you do the same thing with ordinary natural brown hair?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Brown hair is good. I love that. You can make them grey. You can probably fish these a bit bigger, March brown time. Brilliant March brown emerger.
What about rabbit?
Rabbit's a bit softer, so it would probably fish well, don't get me wrong, but I think as for a thorax, if you've got more guard hairs...
Would you have the same buoyancy with ordinary hair?
What, like rabbit you mean?
Or hair?
Hair would work, definitely. Hair's mask would be even better, if you can get the mask, yeah. Yeah, but hair would be great, yeah. Which is pretty much what this stuff is,
yeah.
It's a blend. But yeah, hair's here, if you got it, definitely, yeah, easy.
And the hair's foot.
And snowshoe hair foot, and for the thorax, squirrel would work well as well, because then you've got the really spiky stuff. Not so much tail, body's a bit spikier. So there we go, so I brushed this up, and what I'm next going to do, I'm just going to move this in the vise. So what I want to do is, just for me, right, bear with me, because I say generalistic flies, but I still kind of like them to look nice. So there's a couple of longer guard hairs on the top. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut them, but I'm not going to go in and cut them like that, right? And I'm going to cut my finger again, aren't I? I don't go to the hairdressers anymore, right? I do it myself now. However,
Why?
you're nice. I like you. Right. So, not that I've ever had this done. However, when you're in the seat, picture the scene. You're in the seat, and next to you there's a lovely lady who's having her hair cut. And if it's longer, to feather it, they'll take the hair, so they're all sticking down like that, and then they'll go in actually vertically and cut rather than a cut, right? Because then you look like you've got a bowl on your head, right? So if you go in and individually. So that's what I like to do when I trim this. So rather than going to the top and cut, then I'll just go in and I'll look. And I brace the scissors on my thumb, and I just, yeah, in I go. And you can...
So how do they catch yours?
How did they catch?
Vertically?
Yes, well, that's what happened, yeah. Yeah, that's a bit better. So again, you can sort of get a bit of bit more consistency then. I mean, yeah, this is a previously living animal's fur, right? So nature is a bit wilder. It's not like the synthetic materials which are always uniform. This is going to have a bit of wildness to it, which is why I like using natural materials, and that is going to work. So again, a bit bigger in size, but also the visibility is there with the snowshoe wing, right? So again, one of my absolute favourites. When I fish it, again, my go-to is like 6x tippet. Usually start the season when the fish are a bit more grabby. I'll use 5x, so what's that, about £5, 6x about 3.5, 4. Don't ask me diameters, John's the man for the data there. But yeah, again, just that's what I like anyway. So this again, faster waters, March brown time, when you've got slightly bigger something. Again, if you're fishing silvery water and you want it to pop a little bit more in terms of visibility, then over the chironomid emerger, then it's a little bit better, nice and simple. So I'll pass that one around. This one's actually better than the one on that stand, so whoever wants to swap them out later, then you can. There you go.
Would you like a 5-minute break or?
Yep. Yeah, have a break. We're another 2. So you can have a break for my nattering for 2 minutes if you like. What's next?
Ready to go?
Yeah, see you again.
Right, round 2. Everybody happy? I haven't bored anyone to death yet? I'll take that silence as a yes. Good. Right, right. So 2 more to go. As I mentioned earlier, so we're kind of coming up in the water column a bit now. And I mentioned at the very start. So at the moment on the husk and the mono, we've got caddis, most size 16, which is what we're going to tie now, and stoneflies as well. Now, kind of, you could argue from underneath, kind of have the same silhouette, right? And because I'm efficient, could also label that as lazy. I like one pattern to do it all. So this one is a good caddis pattern, but as I said, it's got a shuck, so it could imitate like a drowned or stillborn dun. Maybe it's come halfway out of his shuck, just died, as they do. Stillborn's quite common in invertebrates. But this pattern is the X caddis. I'm a big fan of the CDC and elk. Got lots of movement. Simple tie, just two ingredients. But I've been using the X caddis for, well, a long time, but more so over the last 3-4 seasons. And they just kind of come up and with caddis imitations, more often than not, certainly I find, they tend to either slam it or they may slash at it to try and drown it. Whether it's the shuck that gives it a bit more, I don't know, they see it more as it's not going to fly away because it's still half in the shuck. Again, back to this prey thing I mentioned earlier. But this one on Saturday, fishing the mono above Waterloo, and we spotted 2 fish. They weren't actively on dries, but they were flashing side to side, right? So they were taking nibs. That was kind of like the top, at the end of the day, really. Walked down to the bottom, fished up. Didn't have a fish, not even a touch. Didn't even see a rise, to be honest, until we got to the bridge and we were like, well, we know that there are 2 fish in there. We haven't waded up under the bridge, so we haven't spooked them. So unless a dog's gone in or something, then my chances are pretty good. Now, my buddy's up on the bank, so he can see the fish. I couldn't. We knew roughly where they were, so that's the first cast I drifted over. Tracked all my line to the side, nice reach cast, and then the fly starts coming down. Now, he was like, there's a fish there, do not move, do not lift, just leave it, drift nice and drag free. And then the sip just appeared, which is like weird. I don't find they sip caddis, but with this fly, they tend to, who knows. My thinking is because of the shuck. So it's got more time, maybe it doesn't need to slash it. Who knows? But I kind of don't want to ever know, you know, because it keeps us coming back from it. So ex Caddis. So this was conceived by a US angler's wife. So the US angler was Craig Matthews. He was big in the world, still is. Back in the 80s, I think it was, and it was kind of imitating a struggling or emerging Caddis with the shuck still. And if you quite often, certainly summer during the evenings, it's warm. There's loads of fly life. Well, usually not so much this year. But if you just stand and a lot of my fishing is standing in the water and waiting, or as I mentioned earlier, sat on the bank having a beer, right? But I'm not. There are youngsters in the room, and I won't propose that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, I do a lot of waiting and watching. And generally I'll look down and I think, right, what's in the water? If I can't see, you've all seen it, you'll see a fish rise, but we won't have seen maybe what it's rising to, more often than not where I fish. This year especially, we've not had the blizzards of anything, really. So, I do see a lot of Caddis shucks in the water. And they'll take shucks as well, which is quite amazing to see, but there we are, it's fact. So, ex-Caddis, developed in the 80s, still very good. The initial shuck I think was Zelon, which I don't use, which I haven't got. So again I use this stuff. Again I can stick it down the side of my hat if I want, and there's my new ponytail. But again I mentioned earlier about how much of this stuff we use. That's just nuts, man. I don't know. Sorry, I don't actually know how much this costs. I don't know how much any of it costs.
EP fibres?
It's what, sorry?
EP fibres.
Yes, there's, yeah. Yeah, we're going to say yes. I'll get back to you, I'll find out, I'll ask him tomorrow. I don't think it says on you. A hollow fibre constructed high floating yarn treated with an ultra dry treatment process to give unparalleled buoyancy, right? So it's the best in the entire universe. Many applications including power posts. I don't use it for power posts because it's a bit too squiggly. That's why I do actually use their product, para post yarn. Highly visible sighters, yep, good, can be chopped up, blah blah blah, uses W. So, have a look at the packets later, so it's all the sales jazzes on it. But I've got no idea how much it costs because they send me it for free, which is great. But there is like a lifetime supply on here. Now for this pattern, one of these strands, which you can see on the camera, it's pretty thick, don't want to use that. So I've kind of halved it, put this half there. You could even third it if you wanted to, depending on the size of it. This is 16, half works for 16. Good? With me? Yeah, right. So this time I'm using the Ultimate Dry Hook. This hook's been around for like a million years and it's bomb proof. So I'm just going to go on with the thread and I'm going to take it down to wherever I want. I've gone almost all the way down. But I'm just going to lay a base of thread. And then I'm going to take my thread all the way back up, but not to behind the hook eye, just before it. Right, shuck material, as I showed, I'm going to do, if you remember with the midge pattern, when I tied the wing buds in, I made like a very abrupt, sharp cut, right? And I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to tease that underneath the thread, and then I'm just going to pull it back. You can't see this on the camera, sorry, but just going to pull that back so it's tied in, right, or it's held in. And then again I'm just going to hold that and just again, you can do open turns if you want to take it down to the rear of the hook. There we go. So there's our shuck done. Okay, again, nice fast guide fly. Again, CDC and elk, brilliant pattern. You might argue it's quicker, better to tie. It's just one CDC feather and a deer hair wing. You can use elk if you want. It's called the CDC and elk, doesn't use elk, CDC and deer really. But again, that one was designed as a softer alternative to the elk-ear caddis when Hans Weilemann was in Montana, I think, either Montana or Colorado, I can't remember which one. But he developed that as I don't have the materials, I want something that sits a bit softer. You've got that full body hackle, which sometimes can make it spin in certain sizes. Certainly with today's genetic hackle, it's so stiff. It's not as soft as they used to be. So again, that's another great pattern. So that's it. Again, I'm going to use my Eco Warrior dub in Pepperbox. Exactly the same. I just like the colour. It's awesome. So Again, you can use Asia, you can use anything you want, right? Superfine dubbing if you want. Again, I just like natural stuff in the way it looks. So, Fully Miller will be like, he's only using one dubbing, he's sacked.
Why do you sometimes split the thread and other times you don't?
Yeah, could do. I've never thought about that. You could do. It's going to add more spikiness. The one thing I'm going to do after I've done the body is give it a trim anyway.
Yeah.
So you get shorter little spikes rather than... So you could do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, this fly is like fast, furious, just get it done, right? So again, a normal dubbing noodle is just fine. But yeah, of course you can. Yeah, why not? That's the good thing about tying. It's your fly, so you can do what you want. Easy. Okay, so just going to bring that up the body. Again, I don't want any bumps or lumps. I'm just looking as I go. God, that perfect amount of dumbing again. It's like that before, isn't it?
Good at this.
One day. Right, this body done. I'll show you how kind of fast this fly is now. So again, give the body a bit of a trim. Don't cut your thread, which I've done loads of times. Always at demos, funny enough. Like, did you just cut your thread? Yeah. It was British Fly Fair years ago. I think it was one of my first. And of course you get there on the Friday night and you're all excited, you've seen each other, the show's going to start tomorrow, so you have a couple of drinks. Sorry boys, doing it again. And then the next day we're all a bit like, oh. But the one thing that got me through that morning was, because the chap turned up and he was like, good night last night? And I was like, why? What do I look like? And I did feel like I was dying a bit. But thank God I had like GSP thread, because that stuff never breaks. And but annoyingly, turned the first fly, he was like, oh, can you show me how you do that pattern? I was like, easy. Snap, snap, snap. And I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those weekends. Never mind. So, yeah, we are. Right, so again, the whole point with this cut is, you could leave it as is, absolutely, right? But I just like the body to be a bit shorter on its spikiness. Again, too much fur on there, it's a natural fur, so it is going to take on water, and that's why superfine stuff is better, because it's naturally, well, it's synthetic plastic, there's nothing to soak into really, other than the holes and the cracks, but yeah. Right, almost there. Now you can, if you want to. Some guys like a bit of bling and I like a bit of flash. So if you want to use something like crystal flash, just one strand, you can sort of put that into the shuck. Gives a bit more flash there. This stuff is quite shiny anyway. It does reflect the light naturally anyway, synthetically rather. But it's a nice effect. Just slide in a bit of crystal flash, micro crystal flash if it's in the smaller sizes. And away you go. It's a nice look, to be honest. Again, not a fan of colour, but flash in the right part is good. Now what I've done ahead of time, I've just prepped the wing, right? Now, I mentioned Nature Spirit earlier. They do something called Comparadun deer. Now I've never seen one of those deers before, right? But so that it doesn't exist as well, boys, right? This is made out. But it's for Comparadun flies, right? Basically, it's obviously the body hair of a deer, but it's quite what's that, about an inch or so in length, and it's quite fine. And on these, it doesn't add a lot of bulk, and it's pretty nice stuff. I do like this. I mentioned this Nature Spirit stuff earlier. If you want to have a look, I've got everything I've tied in, all the colours and stuff, so you can have a look later. But what I've done, I've taken a snip, and again, you don't need a massive amount for this. This is a size 16, right? So it's not huge by any means of imagination. So again, what I've done, I've taken it, I put it into my deer stacker, also made by Kevin Moore. It's very nice actually. It's very nice. So sorry, bar staff. Alan Reese is tied here, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know Alan Reese, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another Welsh boy, not far from me. Lives in the wrong valley though. Don't talk about the other valleys. So Alan he's easily been one of my mentors, and he's a good guy. He's top bloke. Love him to bits. But you meet people in life and they just kind of, I don't know, shepherd you maybe into, don't make that decision, don't do that. And I've known him for quite a while now. A couple of tips he gave me over the years, because he's been here, right? He's a phenomenal fly dresser. He's a great teacher in himself as well. And just the little things you learn from these masters. Whereas I was always doing vertical taps, and he's like, no, just do a slight angle, and then they all align nicely, not just vertically, but they all kind of wriggle in and just rotate a bit. So again, little things, but again, he's a lifetime of knowledge, that guy. So right, so prep that. I'm just going to go in now. What I'm looking for is the colours on this. I think you can make it out. You've got the blondie bits, right? And then at the very tips, they just go a little blacker. Okay, I want those black tips to just hang past the curve of the body, curve of the hook. Sorry. Now, if you apply that to any size of hook that you tie on, from size, I don't know, 1 to 28 to 32, then that ratio, that sizing is always going to be exactly the same relative to the hook size, right? So nice and simple. So again, just hanging over, and then I'm just going to line it up. I'm just going to change hands. Again, just nice and simple. If there's anything you want to remove, feel free. And then this time, again, pinch and loop up, right? So I don't want this to splay like a muddler head. I want it to sit on top of the shank. So again, pinch and loop, and then draw up. Again, careful with the pressure, because it's just a normal thread. You can use GSP, which could cut through it as well. Again, it's, but it's just, learning your tools, right? Now that's 3. I'm going to take half of this, lift it up, and I'm going to do a loose-ish wrap between it. Any fibres that might have wrapped around, because I'm not perfect, they do wrap around. And then I'm going to do another wrap underneath the eye. Now with a gel spun thread, you can actually do that with 3 turns. Once around, once through 45 degrees, and then once underneath. With a normal thread, you can't put, so when I say normal, like a traditionally wound multi-strand cottony thread, then you just can't put that amount of pressure on it, otherwise it will snap. With that stuff, which I'll tie the next fly with, it'll cut your hands. You guys have told the story, haven't I? Where a guy came to staff and he's like, it can't be that strong. Give a year, I'll pull it. And everyone around my stand just went, no! And the line that he'd cut through his hands, right, was just, it was, first aid kit was out and everything. And we were like, idiot, bye. Have fun driving home with those hands. But there we are, you learn once, hopefully.
Picking his nose, though, didn't it?
I tell you. Never jumped so much in my life. Anyway, so just gonna, now a lot of people ask, you guys in the guild, there's probably a rule where you probably recommend that you cut first and then blah yada yada. I'm not in the guild, so you can teach me that one, right? I prefer this because I find it personally, I can manipulate it a little bit better. But it's all personal preference, right? When you're tying your flies, you tie them exactly how you want them. And I'm not going to be any fly tying police with you, so don't go hard on me, right? So there we are. That's that one done. Again, you can give it a snip there.
Just shapes the head as well.
Exactly. See, this is why I do it. I told you I like to. Right. And now the shuck, and obviously we're not going to leave it like that because it's like the longest shuck in the history of any invertebrate, right? So again, body to shuck, right? Because it's just the bodies come out of the shuck generally. That's my thinking. And again, keeping that relative size, proportions, and all that good stuff nice and consistent through the sizes of hooks. Then again, this is going to help it. And everyone likes looking at you when your mate looks at your fly box and he's like, "Oh, that's nice." And I'm like, "Yeah." So bit of pride in your work. And then that's it. So again, when I fish it, I will fish along glacier glides. People think caddis, big bulky flies you just use in faster running water. Then no, it's they're good old flies. And like I said, with this pattern on Saturday, it was the sippiest of little risers. So go figure. I'll pass this one around. Again, that's on the stand, right? You can use any colour shuck as you want. I've got like 10 colours there, but I quite like this tan colour, I think, or there's a grey which looks nice too. But I don't like colour, right? So just use what you want. I'll go this way this time. Want to take that one? There we go. Right, let me tidy up a second, because I'm starting to make a mess. What are we doing for time? Right, 9 o'clock.
Is that what you do when you cook? Do you tidy up as you go along?
Oh, definitely, yeah, gotta wash up as you go. Definitely. Prep first, get everything chopped, and cut yourself, obviously. Well, I say tidy up, I just bang it in the sink and then deal with it later, but it's out of the way, it's off the workstation. IT job, IT, ruined me. 25
You can get ChatGPT to do code for you now.
Well, yeah, I know, it's bloody dangerous. Right, still going to use that. What do we need? Right, last pattern of the night.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you do your catch up. Again, come up, have a look at the stuff if you want. Play with it, get your hands involved. Excuse me. So the last one, I mentioned earlier, we've got upwing wise. Now I love hackle, right? But for whatever reason, I just haven't used a lot of like parachute or hackle flies heavily in the last few years. Whereas that's kind of all I ever fished. Paraduns, jinglers. Anything with a hackle, I was just amazed by them. Even down into the size like tiny 28s and things. Because some of the hackles now, as I was saying to you boys, they are crazy quality and they just look ridiculous in the farmyard walking around because they just look like supermodels. They don't look like real chickens, do they? They're ridiculous. But as I was saying to the awesome younger fly dressers amongst us earlier, is what shows in the quality of a saddle or a cape or any animal really. I mean, we all show stress, right? We get grey, we lose hair, we just look bad, right? You're all, you know, eyes look terrible. I do anyway. But these chickens, you know, like any lizard before them, you can tell stress through the quality of each hackle, right? The same with lizards as well with the skills. So you'll see bumps, lumps, there'll be nice uniform colouring and all of a sudden there'll be like a blotch or something and you can tell. So this is a whiting and that's all I've ever used really. There's a few saddles that I use, I've got them with me if you want to check them out. These things are amazing. The life that these have had, I mean, you talk about free range, these are just amazing. There's not a blemish on these things, but unfortunately, as I was saying to the guys earlier, it's a bad time to start buying capes and saddles these days because they are crazy money. I don't know how Trump's things are going to hit as well, but it's not going to be good, I don't think. So yeah.
Where are these from though? Are these from Italy or?
So these are whiting farms in Colorado.
Oh, are they?
And again, Tom Whiting, who breeds them, huge operation. Some go to, do you remember there was a phase about 10 years ago where people were tying hackles into their hair? Girls were, not so much men. Steve Tyler, is it, from Aerosmith, he was doing it. So they had the best stuff for fashion because they can charge what they want. We got like just as good, kind of, but not as good as the rock stars pay. But yeah, he doesn't fish. People have asked him in interviews and stuff, do you fish? And he's like, no interest at all. For him, he just geeks out over genetic breeding of chickens, really. Their roosters are good, their hens are good, but granted it comes from the other side of the world now, so there's going to be a hit there, if not already. But yeah, if you want to look at them, great. So this is a Cree, and I was saying to the boys earlier, Cree used to be almost like a mutant that nobody wanted, but because they were so rare, more people wanted them all of a sudden, and because they were rare, they cost more. Now there's a lot of Cree on the market, which is handy. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. So
sold by Steve Hankins.
yeah.
He likes his Cree.
He does like his Cree, yeah, for sure. Right, so this one, going back to what I said earlier, this is going to be a parachute. I like parachutes when I'm fishing fine and far because any of the patterns, okay, granted the X-Caddis, you can see that a mile off. Maybe the snowshoe hair, maybe if you're long casting, summertime, long leaders, you don't want to try, spook the fish. You want to stay as far away as you can. You've got to push that cast distance a little bit further. You want kind of something that you can see. So for me, that's a parachute. Because again, the trade-off is you want to be able to see it, but you can't make it too big because they're on the really small stuff. So again, this is a size 20, so it's by no means tiny. It's 24s in the box, so this 20 isn't.
That's tiny,
I tell you what, if you tie 20s, it brings everything in, right? 20s, 22s, 24s, all the skills that we've all got that we take for granted, I think. Like, we'll tie something in with 6 turns. We don't need 6 turns. It kind of needs 3, really. So that it really tightens all those skills up. And then all of a sudden, you tie the bigger stuff, size 12s, and you tie it, and it looks so much better. It's crazy. So it really does tighten your skills up a little bit. So size 20. So again, as I mentioned earlier, blue-winged olives, sulphur duns, they're a little bit smaller, and generally anything. So this could be a mess of a bit of midge on the water. Who knows, right? So it's going to have a tail, it's going to have a body, it's going to have a thorax, it's going to have a wing post, and it's going to have a wing. So this time I'm going to go a little bit smaller with the thread. One of you guys asked about this. So this is the 18-aught, but it's a gel spun, right? So you can spin it quite tight, and if you tie it anywhere near like a dubbed thorax, for example, it'll just disappear because the thorax is gonna hide it. So that's the benefit over, and it's extremely strong, right? So don't pull it. So, but the only downside is, and it's just a different tool, right? It is a bit slippery. Yeah, slippery. But again, learning the pressure and stuff. And so this is the material I'd use a couple more wraps because it, stop it sliding off. Right. So off you go. So I've just laid a little bed for my thorax area. So again, sorry, back to what I was saying earlier about working in IT, right? I'm very step 1. And if you get that step 1 right, it's going to make step 2 easier. And if you do step 2 right, step 3 is going to be easier. If you screw up step 1, you'll struggle a bit maybe with step 2, and step 3 gets a bit hard. So again, I like to focus anyway on each of these steps.
I didn't see quite what you did. What did you just put on there now?
So I've just entered the thread, that's all I've done.
All right.
And I've taken it back where I visualised the middle of my thorax to be, because that's where we're going to tie the post on. Now this stuff is slightly different to the squiggly stuff. So that's the ultra dry yarn, great for shucks. And then this stuff, again, range of colours, loads of them. This is the fluorescent orange, and this is the parapost yarn. So this one is quite straight. So if you remember, the last one we used the ultra dry yarn, which is quite squiggly, great for a shuck. The very first pattern, that midge for the wing buds, that's this, but in a different colour, right? So again, fine and far, size 20, it's probably going to be on 6x, it's going to be a bit stiff, 7x is better, but again, it depends what fish you're targeting, right? If it's going to be like £8 or something, then I probably wouldn't want to use 7x. Well, or a size 20 dry fly, I don't know. Depends on what you're doing and where you are. So again, big hock of it, right? But I don't know whether you can see this stuff is super straight in comparison to the other stuff, which is super crinkly. So they've each got their own traits. But again, very similar, hollow bodied, high floating, buoyant, but again, we're not using it for that, right? Because again, it's the hackle that's going to give us the buoyancy. Again, for a size 20, when I tie this in, I put it under and I park it on top, and then the 2 pieces lift up to form one single post. Okay, so that, what we can't do is take one single strand of this because it's going to be way too thick. So I like to use about a little bit less than half for a size 20. If I'm using a size 16, I might use size 14 would be a whole one, and then I'm reducing it in size so I get, I don't want a huge wing post because it's going to affect the way it casts rather than drifts. But so this is just under half the amount, and again, as I say, I'm just lifting that up and I'm just placing it on top of the hook shank. Now I'm just going to use my thumb to keep it in place there a second. So that's 1 loop, 2, and then I'm just going to push that back part of the parapost forward, and then I'm just going to do a whip behind. Okay, so you can see that's kicked up straight away. Now I'm going to keep the tension on, I'm going to turn my vice a second, so I do apologise. I'm going to lift both of those sides up, and then not in tight turns. This is a hard one to explain, this one. You don't want to put too much pressure on because the thread's just going to pull off of the material. Right? And in touch and turns, I'm building a wing post up until I get up about the thorax size, okay? So same width for the thorax, the same height of the wing post. And then in touch and turns back down. Now, if you haven't fished, or tied rather, para duns before, so anything with a para post, do yourself a favour, make sure you've got enough para post material to actually use, because holding it and wrapping around it when it's very short is very difficult, right? So you can actually use that as like a bench to tie on top of. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to make sure it's vertical on top of the hook shank, and then I'm just going to kind of lock that off, right? I'm just going to do turns in front and behind, so we're forming like two bookends against the book to keep it upright. And of course, what we're trying to do is prevent it from sliding around. If you've ever bought really cheap flies, and I did as a kid, you get hackle posts moving around, and that's just bad tying, isn't it? So you could use super glue. Again, there you go. Back to grill. Don't use the gel. Use the liquidy stuff. What you can do is just put on a bodkin and just poke it into the top of the post, and it'll suck through. You can do, but if you can tie it right in the first place, then you don't need super glue. Then great, all right? But if you struggle and you want to, try it. But keep practicing, and you'll get it. It's easy. Right. So now I know that's locked in. I'm going to park my thread in the front, so just behind the eye side, and then I'm going to take one of my awesome, amazing hackles, which again on my tying desk, the size of these things is huge. I don't know how many size 20s you'll get out of that, right? And I don't know how many size 20s you'll get out of that. That's phenomenal. So what I do is I keep one, and I've literally got a pile of different colour hackles in different sizes. If you want to, grab them all together by the butts and just do a whip finish over them, keeps them nice and tidy, and you can just snip one off and use it when you don't, when you want to. So let me just check. I've got two here for some reason. That's too long. No, that one's just right. I had one which was too long. I was like, I got them ready last night, and I was like, I put two in the box, and one of them's too long. Why have I done that? And I couldn't be bothered to go back through. So there's the one I want. So what I'm looking for when I take my hackle, and you can do this when it's still on the body, right? Just get one and just loosely just kind of wrap it around. What I'm looking for is a hackle, when I tie any paradon, to be either the same size as the hook or slightly longer. You don't want it too short, because then you haven't got the splay to keep it up almost, and they look a bit weird. So unless it's like clink hammer, which I have in this box, then they can be pretty big, right? Because they've got a tape. They've got you could suspend a nymph under it, whatever, and you want that more surface spread to keep that hook up. But when it comes to paradons, they've got one job, right, which is to look nice and sexy. So and flies do look sexy, by the way. So what I'm done is, again, I've just cleaned up the rachis, stem, barb, whatever you want to call it. And what I like to do is I do take off a few of the more fibres on the wrapping side. So when we tie it in and when we wrap it around, there's obviously a leading side to that feather, right? Now every feather, doesn't matter what bird, there's always a convex and a concave side, right? An innie and an outie, right? So think of an upside down plate and then a normal plate, right? There's a slight curvature to that feather. So when we tie it in, I want the shiny side, which is the convex side. So the bit, if you've turned a bowl upside down, yeah, I want to tie that in facing me. So when I pull the saddle fibre, the feather down and wrap around, it's almost like a slightly, if you're trying to poke an umbrella through the water, it's coming up slightly. Now on these super stiff genetic dry fly capes and saddles, there's almost zero curvature these days. They're very stiff. So, but on some of them you might see that there's a slight curvature. So if you do tie with that, then again get the curve going up. Some people like the curve going down. They like there's this idea where the impression of those saddle fibres are almost poking into the water. It could be feet, it could be antennas, something like that. So again, there's no right or wrong really, but as long as you're happy with it and it catches fish, then keep doing it. So I'm just going to tie this behind, so sorry again you can't see this, and what I'm doing, I'm just tie that in quite short, quite low down, and then I'm just going to lift it up so the very bottommost hackle fibre that I haven't stripped is just above the post. Okay, and then once more we're going to do touch and turns, up the post and then back down. And I'm just going to shut up a minute because I'll probably get it wrong. So that post is pretty slim, right? Even though we've tied the post in, we've gone up it once and back down to tie it in. Then we've tied a piece of feather in, so there's a stem in there, and we've gone up and back down. So there's 4 layers of thread, and there's a stem in it, and because this GSP style thread, it's only an 18/0, super strong, there's very little build up. So again, if you want to make tying easier and fast track to awesome tying, GSP's where it's at, so it's really good. And it's got the strength afforded to it. It might be a bit slippy, but again it's got the strength, whereas a traditional thread, it's not going to be as strong, but again they're getting finer and finer and finer these days. They're amazing things. So notice I haven't snipped off that bit of stem just yet, because I want, again, if you buy some cheapy flies, sometimes the hackle can unwind or it can just come off altogether. So by incorporating that stem, so when you tie it into the body, it's like an L shape, there's no way that's going to pull out. Alright? And sometimes when you're tying it and wrap it around, if you haven't tied it in tight enough, then it can slip out and slip through. And then you're already on step 4, you can't go back to step 2 or 1 because, well, you've locked the post in, right? So I'm just going to do a couple of turns there. I'm not going to make it too long because I don't want to take it down to the tail. So I'm just going to tie that off. And then I'm going to put my tail in. So for that, again, this is this Ed Madrigal's Cocktail on, this amazing stuff. We don't need a huge amount of this. Again, for a size 20, I'll use like 5 fibres. You probably get away with 3 or whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So what's that you're using for tail?
Cocktail. You can use more saddle if you want. If you've got a rooster cape, then you're going to have lots of feathers with longer fibres anyway, so you can use those just as good.
This stuff's quality though, isn't it?
Oh, the barbs on it, the colours on it. I know I'm back to colour, right? I'm eating my own words now, but it just looks nice. And again, if you appreciate something when you tie in with it, the same as earlier, right? Cooking, any hobby, if you appreciate the tools you're working with, then the whole experience becomes more enjoyable, isn't it? So I'm obviously not into cars, if you see my car, so I'm into other things. So I'm going to do 2 loose wraps there. Obviously that's too big, right? So we're going to shorten that, and I do 2 loose wraps so I can draw it through. So if you want to measure, then fine, you can use your scissors. So again, just measure, right? It's that length. So that's the body, and I want 1 body and a bit more, right? So body and a half, you might say. And again, I'm just going to clamp, and I'm going to push with this hand, so I don't end up pulling individual fibres through. There you go. And if you want to measure again, then body. Again, so it's about having them nice and, nice in your box. And again, we all know what it's like. You're on the river or still water, and you look in your box, and that one looks crap. I tied that one last year. That one looks a bit messy, and you just try and find the nice one. Whereas if all your flies are, nice, then we're on to a winner, right? You've got confidence in that fly as well. So I'm just gonna bring these forward. Again, you can use open wraps if you want. And then when you're ready, or you're close to the post, you can cut this. Again, we don't want any lumps and bumps, right? So again, nice turns. And the problem, one downside of having huge saddle feathers, and this one's been used for a bit, right? This was probably like not double the size, but almost. It's flattened about everywhere, right? So when you do a wrap, you've got to kick it out the way, and it becomes a bit annoying. But
So how many flies? You know, you take your half dozen flies in your box.
yeah,
So how many flies of each pattern do you normally take for a day's fishing?
well, have a look. So I've got a 6 compartment fly box. There's 6 patterns in there. 2 are the same, so there's 5 patterns in there. That's
Yeah,
it.
but how many actually of each pattern?
So the first one, the midge, because I use that like all the time. There's about a dozen in there.
Yeah.
6 snowshoe air emergers. The ex-caddis, they've been depleted a little bit because I gave a few to a mate the other day. There's always about 6 to 8. If I need to replenish again, they're quite quick, fast flies, so quite easy to tie. Again, just do half a dozen sometimes. Winter obviously is now.
So you're taking about 36 to 40 actual flies with you.
Yeah, but in a box this size,
Yeah.
and that just flips in my pocket.
Yeah.
I don't really have a pack as such anymore. They're just in the wader pocket, so nice and easy. Okay, I'm going to use a different dubbing now. First fly.
Spoiling it.
I know. Hold on. Right, so this stuff is the superfine style. Tactical dry fly dub. There's that tactical word. So again, because we're in the smaller flies now, I want the body or abdomen that's a bit, it's a bit slimmer. Which, when you get below 20s, you quickly learn that natural furs, you struggle to really get them slim because they're not slim things, are they? Rabbit is pretty good. You mentioned rabbit earlier. That can be quite thin, and you can get away with that. But this superfine stuff in the is very good, and we don't need much of it either. So again, dubbing noodle. Again, thin at the top because we're going to taper up, and that's probably twice as much actually. I haven't tied small flies in a while, so there we are, shows. So I'm just going to do one wrap to start with, which hopefully is bitten my dubbing in, so I can pull it now so it's fairly tight. And then I'm just going to dab up the body. Again, if your materials splay, just a bit of, it's horrible to say, but a bit of spit and it sticks together. Again, if it gets too thick, then job done. There we are, twice as much. I did say we only need a little bit now. So the pain with the superfine style dubbing is if you do go too much, it can be a pig to get off sometimes, because again the strands on it is like super long, aren't they? It's not like rabbit fur or hair where they're generally short and they tease out quite nicely. So lastly then, again, just because it's an ephemera really is what we're trying to imitate here. The thorax is generally a bit darker than the body, right? So again, I mentioned blue-winged olive earlier. Again, as I mentioned, it's they all look dark from underneath, right? So this is why I'm using like a, what did I say? Grey olive body, and then this like darker haze ear mask mix for the thorax. So again, two-tone. But generally, I wouldn't have a problem if this was just super fine all the way through, right? But there is a reason why I'm going for slightly thicker material in the thorax, and I'll show you that in a minute. It's a bit of a cheat. I was saying to the boys earlier, if it's a good way of hiding stuff, but I'll come on to that in a minute. Yeah, it's alright. Again, we don't want it too thick. And then, so we're almost there. So let me just whip finish here. So we're almost done. So we're obviously going to do the post in a minute, but what I want to do is kind of clean up on some of this. Again, it's size 20, we're using natural materials, so some of the fibres might be a little long. So I just want to trim those off. Again, if you want a really buggy fly as well, leave them in, right? It's again totally up to you. Trigger points. So I'm quite happy with that. So with any sort of parachute fly, whether it be a clinkhammer, paradun, doesn't matter, I always now move it in in the vice, so make it a bit easier. So obviously when we're tying on a hook, we're tying onto generally a horizontal platform, aren't we, where we're doing this. If I was to do that, then I'd be doing that, which I don't like, right? We've got to tie the post in that way, can't get around that, but now I've got a horizontal-ish tie-in bed that I can use. So I'm going to take the same material again, or same thread, 18/0, and I'm just going to tie this on at the top of the wing post. There you go, there's a 5th layer of thread going in there. So this is why the gel spun thin stuff is very useful. I'm just going to take off the waste. Right, so we're ready to hackle. So I mentioned earlier, right, that convex side facing us, shiny side, the bit going that way, upside down bowl. So when I draw it down and wrap it around, again, it's similar to that upside down umbrella in the water, okay? So I'm just going to go, again, not too much pressure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll know when you've tied too much, because when you tied that clink hammer, if you go too far down, can you remember what the feather does? Too many wraps, they start to kick up, because they start like knocking themselves up. There's too much material underneath the hackle. So you'll know when you've gone too far. So if I go too far now, this is the thing with this really tiny hackle. There's nothing to it really, so you've got to put tons. So that is too much for my liking. So I'm going to leave it there, right? But generally, rule of thumb, you'll know when you put too many turns in, because the whole hackle starts going like that, and that's not what we want, right? We want it generally down. So with my thread, I'm just going to wiggle through. I don't want to catch any of the fibers. I'm going to do once over the feather, then another one, so 2, and then I'm going to do a lock-in wrap. So I'm going to bring that feather forward or up, and then put a lock-in wrap underneath. So that's going to be secure as now. Now I don't want to jinx myself because I haven't tied it off yet, but generally that's all you need. I'm just going to let the bobbin hold the hang, because that's all the pressure it needs. And I'm just going to snip that. Just going to go in with tips, and then that goes back on my desk for the next few flies. And then we do hand whip finish. Now you can get these in like extended versions, but again you're kind of going around the material, and I never got on with it. I think I gave it away. But you can use a whip finish too if you want, but for this is probably the only pattern I use, a hand whip finish. Again, I've done a lot of small flies in my time, like again 24s, 26s, 28s, and you need a whip finish tool.
So why not shorten that post and do it with your tool?
Could do, but I do that last. Cause see what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
I'm holding on to the post and I'm still using it as like when I'm
you said earlier.
when I'm manipulating stuff. So you absolutely could, but it would take a benefit away for me.
Yeah.
If you can do it, fantastic. But for me, I've kind of got in the habit of using that as a tool almost. So again, just go in with the blade and slice. That's all the tying I'm going to see tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
You tried the Syntron threads, Gareth?
I'm not, no.
Good stuff.
I'm not allowed now, am I? Edit that, please, John. Are they good?
Yeah.
Syntron, right.
Comes off as 2 fibres,
Right.
so it's easy to split for split thread technique.
Okay.
Lays nice and flat.
Well, I need to be market aware, so you know, I'll have to try some. So it's fine.
Well, Bob's got some on his
Has he?
website.
Okay, all right.
Just stamp the spoonful in there,
Yeah, almost done. So again, size of the post, completely up to you. If you want a mega long post, I've seen some guys that like really short posts, like little nubbins on top. But for me, I kind of, again, using my scissors, right, I'll measure with my blades. That's the size there, and then you can apply that to there, so you know roughly what size it's going to be. But generally, length of the hackle, height of the post, right? And again, they all look nice in rows in your box. Nice and pretty. There we go. So that's it. That's the last one.
Right.
And that's it.
You say you've got 5 flies in the box. You've shown us 4. What's the other one?
The other one is an Iobo. It ought to be outlawed.
It ought to be what?
It ought to be outlawed. It's
Outlawed.
I've forgotten his name. You know him. Oh my god, I've just had a blank spot. Anyway, so the chap came up. He'll come to me. I'll shout it out in a second. Lovely guy. He's always at British Fly Fair. He's always doing the casting. Big beard, white beard. You know him.
Yeah.
You know him. He came up with this pattern. It's one. I use a single feather CDC fly, CDC feather. It's tied in the back and then pulled forward. So there's a few strands of CDC hanging over the back, and then the forward comes through kind of like that, but a lot slimmer. And it, when fish are on what we don't know they're feeding on, God knows what, it's a phenomenal fly. So the Iobo, it ought to be outlawed. It's a very good fly. Very good fly. Come and have a look. There's a couple in the box.
Which 2 are... Oh, can you just put it in the vice for
Yeah,
us?
yeah. I'll pop that there. I'll send that one around in a minute. Oh, these are my fishing ones now. Let me choose a good one.
I don't know. Just get an idea of what it looks like.
It's a very David Southall.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to kill me. So he kind of developed this fly, and it,
Okay.
nothing to it. You could say it's a shuttlecock. You could say it's like a beetle. It's like it's anything. And I swear to God, if you're struggling, there's a friend of mine who loves this pattern. He's very minimalist. Lots of CDC, a little bit of hackle maybe. But whereas I think I'm minimalist, he uses like 3 things and that's it. And he's only young as well.
So what's the body? That's CDC.
The body's just thread. So you tie your thread on. Do you want to chat and I'll tie it? Because it'll take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Is it too late? It's up to you.
No, if you've got... It's,
There we are.
you're the one that's got to drive back.
No, I'm fine. So if you're happy with the paradigm, again, feel free. We'll be a bit more lax now. Coming up and have a look.
I've seen.
We'll do a 20 again.
John, do you want to pass the paradigm around?
Let me... Where's the thing gone? Oh, where's that gone? Oh, there we are. It's a size 20. I lost it already. There you go. So that's a bit smaller now. It's a 20. So I'll do this as it's meant to be, as in a size 20. Again, this is like stupid quick fly, right? So I don't want to keep you guys, but
Yeah. Size 8 to get.
so again,
What pike have it?
What's it called again? It ought to be outlawed. IOBO.
Iobo. So yeah, it ought to be outlawed, but there's too many syllables in there for me. So Iobo. Again, so David Southall, he does a lot of, like, I thought I fish small flies, and the stuff and the study that he does around these flies. He's got rulers, millimeters. He's just it's awesome what he does. I think he's got a book now as well, hasn't he? Book in the last year or so. Worth checking out. But yeah, also awesome pattern, lovely bloke. And if you're up at Stafford, I think he'll be up there usually with. Is he a guy maybe?
No.
Is he not? No.
No, I don't think he's... As far as I know, he's just Grayling Society.
Ah, okay, yeah, maybe. So we've tied the thread on. We've laid a bed. Just taking it down to the curve, and I'm going to use one CDC feather. Something about 1 inch, right? Just give yourself something to work with. Again, I'll pull off the little stubbly bits. Right, you're testing me now. I need to remember how to tie this one. So we're going to tie it in with the tips facing back. Now remember, we need to pull it forward. So if we want it to be the same size as the body, then it needs to be 2 times the size because it comes over the body, and then a bit more, right? So I'm just kind of get an idea to measure it.
I know this fly now you come to.
Yeah,
You leave a
everybody
bit
does.
for the tail.
Right, well that's the cool thing, right? You can kind of leave a bit for the tail, so you think. So I'm just going to do a couple of turns, right? Bear with. And what you can do, once you've locked it in, you can kind of just bend it forward, right? Is it long enough? And I'm happy with that. So I'm going to...
It is very clever.
it is, yeah. Such a simple fly. It's like one of these flies that somebody developed on the riverbank, isn't it? Right, there's a feather, I'll just tie it. but he does tie them quite small. So I'm just going to come about 3/4 of the way, and then I'm just going to take this stuff off. So I'm kind of keeping a bit of a profile. There's no, you can put dubbing on it if you want. It doesn't need it. Trust me. People are like, no way, can't be that good. So what I'm going to do now is just manipulate this and bend it forward, but I'm going to be quite loose with it. So notice that there's a couple of fibres that start splaying back, which is what we want. And then that's enough. So I'm going to just lock it in with my fingers, and again, just a whip or. So two loops there, two thread wraps, and then one locking wrap in front. Hold the pressure, and then
It's a crippled fly, isn't it?
it's cripple every day. That it's again, it's like, why can't people come up with like, these flies all the time? It's such a simple thing. But this, if again, my buddy uses this a lot.
That's quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, what is there an advantage at all in changing the colours of it?
Is there a different? Yeah, I
Good
suppose.
white.
Yeah, white would be good. Well, it's more visible for sure.
Yeah.
But it's such a dainty fly.
Yeah.
I think it just might give them a bit of again, confidence in taking it. Who knows? I don't know.
That was so quick, you can do 5 more.
But you want 5, do you? He's giving me all these compliments tonight. And now,
Don't give him anything, he's tight.
No.
honest to God, simplest fly in the world to tie and crazy effective. Try it, give it a go. That's one to tie. The only thing is, I can't do many of those in demos because it takes like 10 seconds, and everyone's like, oh, well, we paid for 2 hours. What's going on?
Different colours.
And again, if you do a YouTube video, it'd be more talking than actual tying. So,
Well, thanks, Gareth. That's really
my pleasure.
brilliant demo. Thanks for coming out.
My pleasure, mate. That's all right.
I apologize for the cheek.
Bring it on. Love it. Yeah, turn the lights on, John, if you want. And if anybody wants to come and see any of the stuff, help yourself.
I'll have to ask for that. We can't do that, so we have to get the logo. You can't do it here. Oh, okay. You know how to do it. Thank you.
Oh, God.
It's daytime.
They've obviously got no performance next weekend. I think they practice for the weekend. Is what I've heard.
I remember being on the River Arrow.
Yeah.
I live up there. We kicked it. And the biggest trout was like big enough.
Yeah.
He was right. I tried everything.
Yeah.
You know, I caught that fish. I found a bit of Cadbury's chocolate wrapper.
Did you?
The grass, that purple colour.
Yeah.
And I whipped it on a hook. Boom, it's gone. Unbelievable.
I know.
Why?
And we buy all these like expensive
Yeah,
materials, and we
strange,
gotta,
yeah.
just goes to show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to think, haven't you?
Yeah. God knows what they're thinking. Like I said earlier, would we want to know? Because it keeps us guessing. It keeps us going back. Doesn't it? So, but yeah, no, it's maddening things. Those trout.
Yeah. And that'll catch you up.
So whereabouts do you live?
Outside Abergavenny.
Oh, right.
It's not far. 40 minutes, 50 minutes.
Right, fish up there.
It's love it well. The Usk is just there. That's 14 minutes from the door. Tactical choice that is.
Yeah, I fished up there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Trouble is,